Good afternoon, and thanks for stopping by Across the Fence. I'm Keith Silva. Today, a conversation about conversation, or the art of conversation. As acronyms go, EPSCoR, EPSCoR, stands for Established Program to Simulate Competitive Research. Vermont's first National Science Foundation EPSCoR Award was in 1985. Since then, Vermont has successfully competed for funding in a number of different topics. Housed at the University of Vermont to build STEM capacity across the state, the current focus of EPSCoR takes a deep look at computational social science. Think research and data, think workforce development, think thinking for Vermont, the US, and, the Earth. To begin, we've got a video produced by Vince Franke of Peregrine Productions that introduces today's guest, who you'll meet in a moment, and provides an introduction to how conversational data improves human life.
This is the first occupation where I've never heard anybody give me a hard time for second guessing something, for asking too many questions, for not being satisfied with the first answer that we come up with, or for coming up with a new question or a new problem. I mean, I've found my calling. My name is Ekstrom Grenon, and I'm a communication pathologist. I mean, I could go on and on about this. I don't even know where to start. I'm gonna start in the middle. I really lucked out in so many ways. Because I'm in this interprofessional health sciences program, my research is to be able to develop ways to describe the most important characteristics of natural communication in ways that we can then apply to supporting improving communication for everyone. My ultimate goal is to be able to apply what we find to improving people's quality of life. I mean, I wish I had started sooner because this is so fun and there's so much to do, but I couldn't have. I think we needed this technological computational revolution to ask kinds of questions that are really important for improving human outcomes. But speech pathologists aren't trained to do these kind of large-scale, novel computational strategies, both in the kind of initial data analysis and then the statistical analysis. In the Glass Brain Lab, I mean, they're engineers that can solve data problems or data questions or data conflicts and make new things, right? So we've made, they call it a pipeline, right? So we've made a whole new way to process files, audio files, going all the way from I'm having a conversation with someone, and then how do we get from there to all these different streams of usable data? If we want to do research about, scale, communication behaviors at scale, we need a data set that reflects the thing that we want to study. And there aren't any, or there hadn't been any. There hadn't been any in the research world. But if I listen to the radio, and so as I'm trying to think about, well, okay, how could we do some really innovative research at scale, I thought, oh, how about that StoryCorps archive? And I was just so grateful that it exists. What we can do now is we have a computational power where I can say, okay, I want to feed in 100,000 conversations, and I want to feed in all the words that people used, and maybe I can feed in who took which turn when, and maybe I can also feed in, what did their voice sound like, right? Were they stressed, or, were there long pauses? You can feed in all that information, which is the same information that humans are getting to make our decisions, but the computer can kind of do a better job in a quantitative way, saying, here are the biggest factors that, characterize one group in comparison to another group. Now that data is so much more plentiful and that computational strategies have allowed us to do more, we can start to design research that is more efficient, and I think also allows us to see things that we wouldn't otherwise have seen.
Thanks to Vince Franke and Peregrine Productions for that introduction to the work of EPSCoR and our guest today, Ekstrom Grenon. I can't think of a better person to explain all of this than someone whose research involves interpersonal aspects of conversation, turn-taking, conversational repair, and healthcare. Welcome to Across the Fence.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
So I have to say, I said this to you before we started, your academic credentials for someone whose job is to interview and have conversations, a little bit intimidating, so hopefully you won't grade me too hard on my turn-taking or conversational behavior. But what is it that a speech language pathologist does?
There's such a huge scope of practice. So I all the way from swallowing to helping children with their speech sound differences when they're growing up, to what I did as a clinical speech pathologist working in the home health setting here in rural Vermont. So I worked quite a bit with adults who had had a stroke, traumatic brain injury, or who might be experiencing neurodegenerative changes, so a Parkinson's maybe, or Alzheimer's dementia. And so these adults are people who have had communication changes that are making it so that their quality of life suffers. And what I was particularly interested in, and that led to me coming here to UVM, is that if your speech is clear and your words can be understood and your sentences make sense, you still can have trouble communicating, right? And so the information about where those communication differences are and how to measure them isn't out there in the field. So I came back to try to learn how to measure some of those conversation level differences.
So in a very simplistic way, you study conversations, how people talk to one another, not only what's said, but how they say it, correct?
Especially how they say it.
Especially how they say it. What do you especially study in how they say it?
Well, there's a whole range, right? So there's all the way from what are the kind of intonational contours and units, right? What's the timing, right? So how do we say it? Do I give you time to provide some feedback, or is it rapid fire and you don't get a word in edgewise? And then maybe, the place that we're going that's particularly interesting is trying to divide up and label different communication acts, right? So am I asking a positive question, or am I asking a leading question I think that I'm going to get a negative answer to?
Right.
Or are you providing some supportive back channels that show you want me to keep talking?
Okay. So even facial expressions and me saying right or okay, that is all part of what you study. I started with EPSCoR and sort of the alphabet soup of understanding the acronym, but you have another acronym that you work on, SOX. What is SOX?
So that acronym stands for the study of online, corpora, and knowledge and stories.
Okay. I understand knowledge and stories.
Yeah.
I may have people in my family who disagree on how well I understand knowledge and stories. Corpora. What's corpora?
So a corpus, the
body
singular, is just a collection of written text.
Okay.
And so our online corpora could be something like, what are the different posts in a Reddit forum, or what are all the different Wikipedia pages out there? And so different researchers are going to have different questions, and they might choose, okay, well, we want to use this collection of online texts. And the online part is just about, what is available for us to find really big data sets.
Right. There's big data out there on the internet, not just Reddit. You're not reading every tweet, you're not reading every Reddit thread, but the fact that they're there is something that can be studied. People could debate whether we should be studying Reddit threads and tweets, but you're just looking at the data, just what was said and how it was said. But let's talk about stories for a second. What kind of stories do you study? You mentioned StoryCorps, the NPR program.
Right.
What's a story that you would study?
So what I'm really interested in are these conversational stories, which are very much related to but different than a kind of a carefully constructed narrative that's in a book, right, or a newspaper article. But in our day-to-day lives, what are the very personal, maybe mundane, but spontaneous, interactive ways that we describe something that we care about or something that's happened to us? How do I tell the story of my illness to my doctor?
Great. You went exactly where I wanted you to go. That's probably very good conversational things to study. So as you're talking about that, a lot of your work is with healthcare, and when you think about communication in healthcare, as I was getting the script together, my first thought was bedside manner. Are we teaching doctors how to have better bedside manner or the most effective bedside manner? And you're like, there's another side to that, which is the patient and how those conversations take place. And I have 2 elderly parents, and if I had a nickel for every time they said, we went to the doctor, but I don't really understand what was said. It wasn't because of the jargon. It was because of what? The conversation and how information was given and received, probably?
Could be. I mean, I don't think we are not far enough along.
Don't diagnose my parents on air,
the
please.
answer to that. But one of the factors that I think is interesting and that we can find out more, either from the study of some of these StoryCorps stories or from going kind of more directly and looking at some of these healthcare conversations, is not only to think about what the doctor says, right?
Right.
But what is our schema, right? So when we're listening for something, what are we expecting to hear, right? Or it's an interaction, right, as you said, between the doctor and the patient. So the doctor might ask questions and they might give us some statements about what's going on with us. But if that's the starting point, how am I able, right, to interface with that so we can build like some common ground, a shared understanding of what's going on?
Right, right.
And I think what I heard, from folks that I talked to in my rural area of the state is that sometimes they didn't even feel that they had gotten as far as effectively expressing how they understood their illness. And so the information, and this could be true with your parents, right? The information that then you get back might not even be pertinent to the concern that you initially came with.
Right. Yeah, I often think when I do ask them about their doctor's appointments, I hear information that is not helpful to diagnosing the problem, but that's like I said, we're not gonna go there today. We've just got about a minute left. I want to really quickly talk about something called an allotaxometer. What is an allotaxometer? Did I get that right?
It's a novel word, right? Allotaxonometry.
Okay.
Right? It's a tool developed by the Story Lab at UVM that helps us compare 2 bodies, for instance, of text together. And because words have different frequencies, it's hard to compare apples to apples unless you weight them based on the expected frequency. So if I say it 10 times more during our conversation, it's irrelevant. But if I say elephant an extra 10 times, that stands out as something really different.
We are just about out of time, as my watch let us know. Katie, I could go on all day. This is awesome. Thank you so much for talking with me. That's one conversation I soon won't forget. My thanks to the excellent conversationalists on the crew here at WCX who make our visits possible. I'm Keith Silva. This is Across the Fence. Thanks for being part of our family.